And we're live on the YouTubes and Twitch. So what is it? Twitch TV / Revolutionary Roulette and YouTube. Just search our channel, Revolutionary Roulette.
/ Aaron Rodgers can eat a bag of dicks, and
He still owns you.
well, too bad he don't own a vaccination. Shit.
It's funny you say that because we're probably gonna get into that a little bit more. So
Yeah, he's got 1 Super Bowl, 0 vaccinations. I got 2 vaccinations, and I got the J&J.
So you the real MVP is what you're saying.
All I'm saying is if he was on fire, I wouldn't piss on the motherfucker.
So what you're saying is you need to give him the old fucking discount double check.
I'd give him the discount smell my ass.
Ooh, that sounds good.
No, it ain't. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Welcome back to Revolutionary Roulette. I'm Rob Zielinski. You can find me on Twitter at Rob Zielinski. That's Zielinski. You can follow the show on YouTube, on Instagram, Twitter. It has all its own accounts. And I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Mr. Joshua Catlow.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back again for the first time. Sorry, I forget.
In a long time.
I forget which hip hop artist always said that. Back again for the first time. I think it was Ludacris, but you can find me at Joshua Patrick on both Instagram and Facebook. You can find me at Joshua Catlow on Twitter, arguing about why the Bears will be the death of me. And you can find me on Patreon and Twitch and StreamYard and Anchor for all your podcasting needs and intelligent conversations about stuff.
Stuff is my favorite subject, especially foodstuffs.
Goddamn stuff. It's been that long. I'm so out of pocket with these things. I'm not sure what I have to say, but I'll find something interesting.
Yeah, we're both out of pocket tonight. So, okay. The main thing that I was going to talk about tonight,
the fucking shoe, man.
So I looked into it a while back, right? And I was like, oh, this at first glance makes sense, right? And so I was like, okay, that was a few weeks ago. And also, sorry to a lot of the folks, like it's been over a month. So maybe we should do that first. It's been over a month since we recorded. I'm with stupid. I did the same thing. So everything's in reverse. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about
got a family.
Yeah, I don't. Well, yeah, I got family. It's a crazy schedule with 2 little guys who are one's 6, one is 4, and also seasonal depression is a motherfucker. There are some days where
it started already.
I had to work for me anyway. And maybe it's not even seasonal. Maybe I'm just fucking riddled with depression all year round. Yeah, because what is it? It's called like it's sad, but I can't think of what the other.
No, you're sad.
Yeah, it's like seasonal asshole depression. I don't know what the A is for. Seasonal ass depression.
Is it really sad? I thought it was something else.
Yeah, I think it's an acronym, SAD for something.
I know it's an acronym. I just thought it had a G in there or something. But you know what you need
for a
alcohol. You need some alcohol and some edibles.
Drugs and alcohol have ruined my life.
So I've been sober for 3 weeks now.
Okay.
And the other day I went to go do a wheatgrass shot because I had the sniffles, but it wasn't anything. It was just I woke up, no COVID or anything like that. And I was like, maybe this funky shit was hell. So I did a shot of wheatgrass, and automatically my fucking muscle memory kicked in, and I immediately turned around and was like, who wants to see my dick? And I was like, oh, sorry.
Give me another.
Wrong shot.
How are those things?
Wheatgrass?
Yeah.
It tastes like you're fucking licking Satan's asshole.
Okay. So it's just it's as good as I imagine. It's just like this really earthy drink.
Yeah, it's not the greatest, man, but they're supposed to be healthy. I don't know. Okay. Everything's supposed to be healthy for you. Even people say they have a Manhattan or two a day, and that's what keeps them alive, or a cigar or two a day. So who the fuck knows what keeps us ticking? Yeah. All I know is I'll meet my demise at some untimely age of 55, and fucking you got fat fucks like Uncle Don out there playing golf at the ripe weight of 3 spins and fucking has trouble tying his fucking shoes, and still nobody shot his ass. And
so just real quick, wanted to say sorry for the long break that there was, but there really was just like between schedule and not feeling up to doing any fucking thing. Taking it just took everything just to function day to day and take care of kids. So we especially appreciate our patrons who donate on patreon.com. And if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/revolutionary roulette. So big thanks to our patrons for sticking with us, right? Having this long haul, and
one love, folks. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So, okay. And one more thing, I was thinking about this earlier. So I've been thinking a lot about doing this off the rails episode, and there's like a lot of different strings that I would like to try to tie together at the end, but in my head sounds so much better than when I start trying to articulate it. So if you're not already, I would suggest you listen to this episode at like 1.5 times speed, or maybe even 2 times speed if you don't do that already, because there's probably going to be a lot of ums and hahs and just stopping to think about what it is I want to try to convey here.
And I would suggest leaving it at 1 so you don't miss any zingers that I have to toss in. Or specified rants like I was going on before Rob so blatantly reminded me that we might have a couple viewers online, and I should probably stop whining like a bitch.
We actually do have a couple watching, so we appreciate the viewers as well.
We appreciate it. Let's do it, Larry.
So the thing that I looked up way back in the day and then decided to brush up on a couple hours before we started recording is that horseshoe theory. It's a political theory where you imagine a horseshoe, and at the top is, they are the centrists and or moderates, whatever you want to call them. And then obviously like you start bending towards left, and that's like liberalism. And then a little bit further left at like the fat part of it is, say socialism. But then if you keep going and it gets that little bit of a curve for that horseshoe, and that would be like, more of your maybe communism and anarchy. So, and then on the other side of the spectrum, the other side of the horseshoe, you start bending right and you get like conservatism. I don't even know what the rest of it's all like just blurb, maybe like libertarians. And then once you get all the way again back down here where it curves in is fascism. And that's what we talk about with the Nazis.
People that support Kyle Rittenhouse and think he's
a hero.
Innocent.
Oh, Yeah, well, we could dig into that a little bit too. So the theory is that like these two parts here, the socialism and just like conservatism are like the two furthest away from each other, but that curve then comes in. So now the two extremes are closer together than these two up here, right? So like communism is more like radical, and fascism is just as radical. Therefore, like they're on the same plane, right? But it's not true. Fascist, communism, there's like it's classless and stateless, where fascism is everybody is controlled by the state, by it's an authoritarian. I can never say that fucking word when I want to say it.
Authoritarian. Authoritarian.
Authoritarianism. So
it sounds like a prescription.
My Lexapro ain't hitting anymore. I'm on that authoritarianism. So I looked into that, and I was like, okay, at first glance, like it makes sense, especially when you consider like the damn Russian Soviet Union gulags, how many people died there, especially under Stalin specifically, right? Like I would have to dig into it more, but I don't think it was so bad under Khrushchev. I don't think it was so bad under Kucherov and or Gorbachev. So that's the gist of the horseshoe theory, but it's mostly conservatives who use this talking point to try to equate the two radicals when it comes to just this political theory. Now, what I've been seeing online, and again, like it's just such bullshit, right? Like there's like this online left, which is like, helped push me, for my politics and change my ideas, but it's not really real. It's not like a true movement, right? So, and there's always this leftist infighting. So I understand, and this is going to come to the context is going to be the vaccinations. So there are some leftists who absolutely refuse to get vaccinated because of their skepticism of the government, which, if you've listened to this show, obviously you know how skeptical I am of the government. However, you have to think about, what might their motivations be. So if you're saying you don't want to take the vaccine because it's created by big pharma, and it's now we have this mandate for the vaccine, it's like I feel like some leftists are letting their skepticism become cynicism, where it's like, I'm not taking this no matter what because big pharma's in on it and the government is in on it. But my argument is going to be, and maybe like, maybe some of those people are like, oh man, you're so close. Like, like you're this close, but we need something to push you over the edge. But for my standpoint right now is they want the government, they want healthy, obedient workers, right? So I don't understand the skepticism of getting the vaccine when it's just going to prevent you from dying, help prevent you, like 95% efficacy rate, whatever it is, 89, it's super high. And there's breakthrough cases, people have died. We've seen people like, who's the one? Colin Powell recently died, but he was like ripe for dying, right? If he got COVID, because he had cancer and a number of other ailments before, so he was already like immunocompromised, and the vaccine, probably did its best, and but we're going to have those breakthrough cases. But because we have those breakthrough cases, they're like, see, it doesn't fucking work. It's like, no, the science has been saying from the beginning that it's 89 to 95% effective. And they're like, well, you said it was going to stop transmission and whatever else. And it's like, no, they didn't say that either. Like, well, on the left, we're really big about what are your sources? Where are you getting this from? And I haven't seen anything. Where are you seeing that? Like, are you just seeing that like in your, like your little circle, your echo chamber? Like, because I don't see any like scientific research that anywhere that said like, hey, this is going to completely eradicate it if you get it. It will if enough people get it and we reach herd immunity.
2024.
It may not ever happen because we're not sharing the patents and the vaccines with all these other countries around the world. So like everybody needs to be vaccinated. I mean, we're going to be vaccinated here and we'll be living in safe zones in the US, but people travel all over the world all the time. So it's probably never going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain strings of like swine flu, or how each strand of the flu changes each year, and by the time that flu vaccine makes its way in a complete circle, it's almost useless again because it's already multiplied and changed itself so dramatically. So let's just be honest here. The government's motivation is always money. And I think everybody at first had reservations about taking the vaccine, myself included. I was not about it. I didn't have the silly ideas of microchips and things like that. But what I did have was, why are you going to trust the government on anything? Well, I've heard stories about people thinking that COVID is a way of population control. I've heard stories of how the numbers are being fudged, for lack of a better word. And I'm 100% behind that. I guarantee you they have been. The accurate count of bodies is not the accurate count of bodies. But let's just be real. If, let's say they're lying by 75% too much, 75% they're lying about. So that means 250,000 people have only died instead of the 750,000 Americans. That's still way too fucking much for something that could have been dealt with and eradicated. I think we can honestly say close to a year ago, or at least at the minimum 8 months ago. If we would have got on top of things, got the vaccine out when we first heard about it in 2019, November, and taking care of business. But for those of you that Rob was alluding to that still have the issues on the trust, I understand it, but there's no money in death. There's no money in
dead laborers.
Yeah, so they got to do something to keep the people putting money in their pockets. So their biggest fear isn't giving you a vaccine to make you healthy. A bigger fear would be giving you a vaccine to make you healthy, realize what they've been doing to laborers for the past God knows how long, and the country to unite as one and come together and put set labor force and shake things up. So I don't know if that makes an abundance of sense to people, but that's just my viewpoint of the whole situation. They don't want you dead. They want you alive, because once you're gone, you can't contribute to their 401ks or their portfolios anymore. You're
Right. Yeah.
just a statistic to them anyway. And if you're a statistic that doesn't provide dividends, then you're completely useless. And the only way you can provide dividends to said portfolios is if you're breathing and not in a box. So
Right. Yeah. So this goes back to the capitalist economy that we live in. We need people. The country needs people alive and working and earning money and spending money to keep the economy going, to, like you said, continue to fill their coffers with their big businesses. So that was a great point. And going back to you mentioned the number fudging, and I would probably go on the side that they may even be underestimating, right? Because they're mostly going from how many people die in a typical year, and then they just make the difference of how many extra people have died since the pandemic began. So there's actually a chance that the numbers are fudged because they want people to think that things are getting safer. It's okay. People got the vaccine. It's okay to, go back out in the world. And for a lot of people, it is. There are like a lot of safe places around, especially if you're vaccinated. It's safe enough to get out there and live life. But especially at the towards the beginning, like in say like a year ago in October 2020, when numbers are getting bad, especially then over the holidays, I would say that they would want to fudge the numbers the other way and say like, no, not this many people are getting sick and dying. It's perfectly okay to go out shopping and go see your family. But obviously this was all before the vaccine was available. So all these people were going out, getting sick, and bringing it home to grandma and grandpa, and they're dying. I mean, I don't know if I've mentioned this on any of our shows, but my grandfather had he was going in for like a small procedure, went into the hospital and caught COVID at the hospital, and passed away on New Year's Eve. And it's hard because it was like, man, if he made it just a few more months, the vaccine was there. We fucking had it, right? So he would have been protected a little bit more, and he's the only one who caught it because he went in to the hospital for this procedure. And my family being extra careful with the wearing masks around each other. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is the new mandate that came out. So now it's, some people might think I'm a little more right on this issue, because I do think that there is something fascistic about forcing people to get a vaccine. I think after looking at all the science, and you're healthy enough and you're not allergic to anything, that you should get the vaccine of your own volition. But if the government is strictly forcing you to get it, then that's the state, really infringing on your rights, on your choices. It's like, my choice, my body, for when it comes to like abortion and things like that, but it doesn't apply to, getting a vaccine. So it's, again, there's nuances though, right? Everything has nuance. It's not like black and white. Your boy, Aaron Rodgers, said that he claims he was allergic to the one of the ingredients in the mRNA or whatever the fuck it is, which is the new technology for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines.
Mhm.
But J&J, which is the one that you got, was like the old technology, and it didn't have that ingredient. But he said he didn't get it because they pulled it for those few weeks when I learned that a lot of, I believe it was a lot of women were getting blood clots, and
Not the Jamaican ones either. So first and foremost, I think the biggest thing that with Aaron Rodgers is the fact that he lied about it. Yes, I've been immunized or immunated or whatever he said.
I think he said immunized, yeah.
Um,
and he hadn't been.
He hadn't been, and that puts people at a higher risk. The fact that he sought a medical team's advice is great. The problem is that his medical leader is Joe Rogan.
The man has access to the world's top doctors, and he listens to Joe fucking Rogan, a comedian with a podcast.
And I'm not going to lie, some of the things that Joe Rogan pushes about taking to help with the COVID vaccine makes sense, and it's been proven to help. But then there's other things that are just completely unproven and unsubstantiated, that you're just putting in your body with hopes that it has some positive effect on your immune system when it comes to having already contracted the virus. So there's a lot of distrust for doctors out there too. I get it. The last thing I want to do is have another pill pushed in my face or another shot that I need to take because I'm overweight or whatever the case may be. But I think there's better people out there that could contribute, even if you don't want to seek someone of the, I would say, typical standards of COVID-19 research. I think there's other people out there that could have been found outside of Joe Rogan, a comedian and podcast host.
Right. And going back about some of the things that I see with the online left, talking about like the natural immunity. It's like, well, he's gonna have natural immunity now because that he'll have COVID. He'll most likely get over it because he's a world-class athlete, right? And has all the money that the best right vaccine cocktails money can buy. So I'm thinking Aaron Rodgers is going to be pretty good, and people are going to be like, well, you can't market, you can't sell natural immunity, which is true. You can't.
The problem is he's already selling it by when he gets healthy. All these people are going to think that it's because of the shit he swallowed instead of the facts that you already previously named of being a world-class athlete and peak physical condition, in the 1 percentile of healthy humans with the underlying cash and ability to seek doctors if need be. So he's already selling.
So
he's the used car salesman in this. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, total fucking snake oil salesman. So
I told you that shit worked.
So yeah, the two other things is like, sorry, some people don't have the supplemental income to keep buying vitamin D drops and zinc and buying Z packs and everything else, or ivermectin, whatever it is you want to try. People don't have the income to keep buying vitamins. Like, they hardly have enough food to eat anyway. The vaccine is free to them. from, you know, our tax money that we put into it together. It's free. There's no money at the point of service. So those people can go get vaccine and then they are protected from the virus. The other thing is, it's not just about getting COVID and then having natural immunity. There's also long COVID, long hauler COVID. I have a family member who still is dealing with it to this day. She got it back in March of 2020, before it was like a full blown pandemic. But you know, things were starting to, you know, more information was coming out. She got it. She ended up on a ventilator. You know, close to losing her, and we're seeing, you know, over a year later, you know, 18 months later, still dealing with the effects, with these symptoms of COVID when she doesn't have COVID. So it's not just about getting over it and then having immunity. Like, so many people continue to be sick with long COVID. So no, like, natural immunity isn't the best thing, because you don't know what this virus is going to do to your fucking body. You could be healthy. There have been people like on, you know, a guy who was on Broadway who was in tip top shape and fucking died from it. You know, maybe he took in a fucking a heavy viral load and it was just too much for his body. But even though he was in tip top shape, you know, I've heard of CrossFitters, you know, they're in tip top shape. You know, and them dying from it, or still dealing with long COVID. And, you know, these people are some of the best athletes in the world, and long COVID is kicking their ass. So it's not just like death or getting over it and then having natural immunity. There's also long COVID to think about. And from what I've witnessed, I wouldn't fucking wish that on anybody, like, not fucking anybody. So, and it especially pisses me off because, you know, you mentioned about how long ago, you know, this whole thing started. Like, it's called COVID-19 because it started in 2019, not because it's the fucking 19th variant of it, but because it came to be in 2019. And, you know, people in the government, obviously Trump knew about this shit and decided to say nothing because of the precious fucking economy. Didn't want to scare people away from being out in the world and spending money. Bob Woodward, the journalist, he writes books. I mean, he was part of, you know, breaking the Watergate scandal, and now he was like tight with Trump. And Woodward knew about this in January. He knew that Trump's plan was to downplay it so that there wasn't a fucking panic. Bob Woodward had a fucking responsibility. He could have said, this guy is off his fucking rocker. This pandemic is spreading. It's going to come here. It's going to be bad. 1 million people, 1 million Americans are going to die. There's already been millions of people who have died across the world, but 1 million Americans are going to die from it. And he fucking kept it to himself so that he could put it in his book.
I mean, do we expect anything different from this country? I mean,
no.
Let's just be honest. I mean,
just doesn't mean, you know, we're not going to be pissed about it, right?
It's to a degree, and I'm not sure to what degree, not taking the vaccine has become not a health concern, but a political statement. Right. They don't give a fuck about what's going to help with the vaccine or protect them from anything. And they probably don't have any actual fear of Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson. But what they do have fear of is being told what to do, which comes from a little thing called white privilege. See, black folks have a reason to be skeptical of government issues, especially pertaining to their health. Fast food, no not very much healthy food being able to be found in the hood.
Specifically, look up the Tuskegee experiment.
Exactly. That's what I was working my way to. And it's like, okay, I get even I understand their cynicism of taking a vaccine after the way they've been treated pretty much since we've established ourselves as a country. And that's not pandering to a certain class of people or a certain color of people. It's just telling you the fucking truth.
Yep.
Handle it. But what it does come down to is in regards to white people with the vaccine and deciding that I'm not going to be told what to do. It's a white privilege issue where nobody's going to push me around. It's like you almost think of it to that degree because nobody had a fucking problem with the list of immunizations for polio, smallpox, the flu shot. Any of these fucking things were not a problem until Donald started barking about something.
Right.
And even at the end of his term, when he was trying to re-up his presidency, he admitted that people should start taking the fucking vaccine.
Yeah, he said, well, I think he wasn't president anymore, and he may be running. He might be waiting for the time to announce his 2024 candidacy. But like at a recent rally of his, he said, get the vaccine. I got it. He also got that's the other thing is when it comes to the people not wanting to put certain things in their body, which again, we understand the skepticism. But you either, take the vaccine, whichever of the technologies that you want to take, either the Johnson & Johnson or the other two, you either take what's in that or you're going to get sick. There's a good chance that you're going to end up in the hospital. That's like the efficacy rate, right? Is like, if you have it, 89% chance that you don't have to go to the hospital, that you don't have to be hospitalized. But if you don't take the vaccine, you get sick and you do go to the hospital, instead of one vaccine, you're going to get a shit ton of other treatments and other things put into your body that you're not going to want. Right. Or are you going to take it to be better? Or are you going to say, nah, I'm good because I don't want, you're infringing on my rights and I don't want to be treated for this.
Well, I mean, you could sign an AMA and do us all a favor and perish, but the odds of you doing that when you're scared for your life and you're really feeling the effects of the COVID-19, you're not going to sign something that says against medical advice, I'm going to decide to not take any treatment and just walk out of here. You're not going to do it. So, right. I don't know. It just... my mind.
I don't want that to happen, and I want to go back to the mandate again real quick. So the mandate is the vaccine mandate. So like if your business is a certain size, even if you're a private business, you have to be vaccinated to go to work, or you have to be tested weekly. So there is like a compromise there, which is a pretty good compromise. If you think taking the vaccine is infringing on your rights, then you have to be tested. That's just the nature of the beast, the nature of this pathogen. We're just trying to keep everybody safe. It's not a fucking hoax. I've lost a family member. I have a family member with long COVID. Like, you don't have to believe me, but if you looked into my eyes, you would see that I'm telling the truth. This shit is fucking real. So that's a pretty good compromise to get tested if you don't want to get the vaccine. However, I think the mask mandate should still be universal. Like your rights aren't being infringed upon because you put a piece of cloth over your face so that you don't spread the pathogen. That's I don't understand the rights infringement on that one. Like it is
It's
just
being told what to
you.
do. We as white people are not used to being told what to do. We're the superior race, and we're always the ones telling motherfuckers what to do.
Right.
And especially when it comes from trickle down political means, when you're being told to do something from somebody that you didn't necessarily vote for or like. I'm going to be honest, Rob and I both were voting for Joe Biden. We both dislike his politics. We both dislike what he's done with his opportunities so far. At least, let me not put words in his mouth. I dislike what he's done so far with his opportunities, but there's a lesser of two evils. But anyway, without straying too far away from what I was getting at, when you're being told to do something and you're not used to it, it feels like infringement. It feels like a blatant disregard of privacy. But in all actuality, it's a mandate being brought down to protect others. And for those who say, well, I can't breathe well with it, or it's an inconvenience. You know what else is an inconvenience? Not being able to get over this, to be stuck inside from the depression that my man was talking about early in the show. We have it stemming from different things. I go to work and I see 3 people I hate that couldn't catch COVID if I tried. And then I come straight home and I don't get to see anybody. I have zero family. I'm by myself for most of the time. So my depression kicks in. So I go to bed at 2:00 in the afternoon and I sleep until I have to go back and see them cocksuckers again. So when it comes to wearing a fucking mask so we can finally get to what Rob alluded to as safe zones in the US, so we can get back to a semi-normal facet of life, or if we can completely eradicate it, at least close enough where we can get back to a semi-normal facet of life, that would be mighty grand. And the fact that the mental health of the children are suffering for this, like tenfold. I have a 2.5-year-old nephew who hasn't been able to play with children because they're worried about COVID being passed on to their young son. And he doesn't meet the age of the newly passed 5 and up for eligible for vaccines. And his motor skills have stumbled because of it. He doesn't have daily interactions with kids. He's 2.5 years old. He doesn't speak words. He's not potty. He hasn't started potty training. These are all things that would normally come about through everyday life and action and interaction. But unfortunately, the young man has just been stunted because he can't go out and see and live his life, even though he's only 2.5. His life is just as important and as somebody who goes to work at a 9 to 5 every day. Everything gets stunted and stopped when we have these attitudes like this.
Yeah, and my little guys feel the same way, right? It's like we really only go. I don't want to bring them anywhere that's inside in public, so you don't know. To like
the fucking park and back. That's all you can do.
Right. Yeah. So when we have to leave the park, it's heartbreaking because they're like, they just want to stay, I mean, it's the case like that for kids all the time. Right. But it seems like it's especially bad because, they don't get to see their buddies except for when they're at the park. We can't have play dates at home because they can't be inoculated. So the other thing that I wanted to mention was we can still, basically eradicate the virus, at least in the United States, and this could have been done in April or May of 2020, where we had the lockdown, right? But do the damn lockdown right this time, where we have a universal banking income. So it's tax money. It's all our money. And instead of like we got the 2,000 checks, 1,400 checks here, there, fighting over it over reconciliation bills. Bullshit. Give the people fucking $2,000 a month to stay home. Obviously, besides the essential workers, and I'm talking essential fucking workers. Not a fucking
not bartenders, not car salesmen, not McDonald's, not fucking any of that dumb shit.
Right. We're talking about people who need to travel to get, keep the supply chain going and fucking grocery stores open. And those people, they should really, instead of just like giving them a fucking a round of applause, like give them actual fucking like supplemental income, like make them fucking rich because they're doing the fucking hard job of keeping us fucking alive by feeding us. So do the lockdown right, not like, oh, like let's half open it up and then like we'll see how the numbers go and then we'll open it up a little bit more. Bullshit. Fucking lock it down, give us our money, and then you don't have to worry about the fucking vaccine. Nobody's going out anywhere.
It's a lovely thought considering winter's right around the corner and nobody wants to leave this motherfucker anyway. You know what I mean? The last thing people want to do is go outside the house during winter. So you lock this bitch down from December to March, and maybe you make extreme progress. And I'm not suggesting a lockdown because the second part of which Rob is speaking of is never gonna fucking happen fiscally. They're never gonna give us our money back, because they're too busy earning interest on our money and pocketing our money and giving us a little taste of our money. So as an essential worker from day one who's had to go out every single day, and I'm not complaining about it because I would have lost my fucking sanity and maybe have done something stupid if I didn't have that to fall back on.
Right.
But what I am saying is I haven't seen an extra fucking dime. And I'm around people that have died from COVID. We didn't know if COVID could still be contagious from people that just recently passed. And I'm talking about, I'm next to motherfuckers that died within hours at times.
Right.
So, give me an extra week of vacation paid. Give me something. And I guess gimme is greedy. And I hate to come off like that. So I apologize for that. But what I am saying is, the real essential workers, like the healthcare folks, like Rob said, the people that are providing food, take care of the people that take care of you. If I'm not getting something, who gives a fuck? But the people that take care of you, that are taking care of the sick, that come home and have bruises and fucking rashes because they're wearing 16 different masks and you still don't take care of these motherfuckers.
Right.
And then you have people that don't believe in science that are walking out or being escorted out of hospitals because they won't take the vaccine. It's like, well, what exactly do you do here? It's a meeting with the Bobs. Yeah. It's like, so you don't believe in science, but you pick the medical field.
Yeah. So, then it's like, all right, well, fucking fairly well then. And I say, it should have been done back in April, May of 2020, and, maybe 30,000 people die, right? Which is still a fucking enormous tragedy. More than one person losing one person to a fucking virus is more than enough. If now at 750,000, whatever it is, we're at, to say only 30, like, obviously you look at the relativity, it would have been only 30 if they did the lockdown then. But instead, we're up to 3/4 of a fucking million people who have died. And, this whole thing has been politicized now. There's still a chance to actually, it being politicized is not going away, but there's still a chance to eradicate it with a proper shutdown. So before we hit 1 million, maybe the government will fucking do it. Obviously they're not going to, but that's just my idea. Just like a way to circumvent the politicization of taking the vaccine or the vaccine mandate.
There wouldn't be a way to regulate it, Rob, because that would mean what are you going to do? Arrest the people that decide to not follow that rule now because they're being told to? And
right. Yeah, you can't just
people would be white.
Right. Talk about like fascistic, right? Like you can't just like drag people off the fucking street. But if the government, if you fucking mandate that restaurants, all the businesses have to be closed, there's nowhere to fucking go, And if you want to be outside together, fine. Like that's, but my kids run around at the park without masks because I feel like that's a safe place for them. If you want to be outside together, be outside together. But you cannot be, inside a place unvaccinated. Again, like I think it's okay for vaccinated people to be inside somewhere. I'm not ready for that because I have the little guys. But for other people, if you're comfortable with it, you're with other vaccinated people, that's fine. I'm happy for the people that feel comfortable with it. I'm not there. So there's that's the crux of what I wanted to get at today, because we're actually at an hour already. So the other things if we were short on time, I was going to talk about like maybe the reconciliation bill and this whole thing with Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin.
Maserati Mansion.
Yeah, exactly.
Who owns a yacht and controls whether people over the age of 70 get vision and dental care provided by Medicare, and drove his car into a group of protesters this afternoon. And yeah.
So I don't know. The main thing that I want to say is like it for me personally, because I know this fucking song and dance that they're doing, it's all fucking theater. I mean, I've talked about this at length about there's no more fucking time when it comes to the environment and when it comes to these fucking environmental disasters. It's happening now. We're out of fucking time. The leftist ideal was like, it needs to be 9-10 trillion and 6 trillion of it going towards helping the fucking environment to have a livable earth to fucking live and thrive on. It started at 6, and then it got knocked down all the way down to 3.5 trillion, and now it's whatever it is, 1.7. What the fuck? And it's being like means tested. We're
always bidding against ourselves as the lefts.
Yeah. So and you can say like, yes, the Democrats have the presidency, the House, and the Senate, but you could also argue that
they don't have a fucking thing.
Right, we haven't done anything, but just blame Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin and say like, well, they're just Republicans in Democratic clothing, and there's nothing that we can do about it right now. But there's always going to be something fucking blocking it. Again, we go back to this, like Obama had a super majority, and instead of giving everybody health care, a single, Medicare for all, a single payer system, he decided to go with the America Cares Act, aka Obamacare, aka it was a fucking Republican. It was the Heritage Foundation, which is like a conservative think tank, and that was put in place by Obama. That's the health care system that we have now, and that was with this a Democratic supermajority that passed. So this is when we say there's only break the duopoly. There's only these two parties, and the two parties really are the same in Republican and Diet Republican. Just know that like that's the context where we're coming from when we say or at least when I say those things.
And there's always something that could be done. Right now is the perfect opportunity for Joe Biden to alleviate student loan debt. I mean,
right. There's so much you could do immediately. Yeah.
And they wouldn't be able to fight back. But is he? No. And there's people that bitch about that. Well, I had to pay my student loan. Well, so did a lot of us. A lot of us are still paying for that. But once again, talking about humongous greed, to use that as an excuse as to why we shouldn't alleviate and help the economy with that kind of money and use that towards getting rid of student loan debt. I mean, it's a difficult thing to realize just how selfish the American public truly is. And that comes from so many different shape, forms, and fashion, from medical to mental health to just down the line.
Yeah, no, it's up and down. So for me, like I think it's okay if you want to continue to engage in politics at the level of casting votes, right? If that, if that's your thing, go for it. I now know, I see everything through this fucking lens that have been put over my eyes. And I'm most likely not going to participate in anything unless it's, like we said, local politics, because that will actually, help organize and create a foundation, obviously at the local level, and then, can be brought to a bigger tent. But that's basically all I got. The only thing that I had was, I think I mentioned before about, and maybe we could do this like, in a couple weeks where we do another Off the Rails, but, again, doing more research. I think I've mentioned before that, like, Norway, Sweden, like a lot of the Nordic countries have like a mixed economy. So it's like, it's both, it's capitalism, but they have social programs, right? So they have UBI, whether or not they're in the pandemic, and they have Medicare for all. So it's these social programs, but with a capitalist economy. Unfortunately, these countries still are, they're imperialist. And we are, again, as a leftist, I am, anti-war. I am anti going in anywhere and extracting their fucking resources. But places like these Nordic countries are imperialist countries because they're capitalist. So they need to keep exploiting the global South, and taking their resources, and they're imperialist, and setting up military bases in the global South. So they have, it's better for their people. They're actually taking care of their people in their country, but they're still, this is what I was referring to back when I meant like there needs to be like an international social movement, right? Because if we're not helping everybody, somebody's getting hurt, somebody's getting fucking exploited, and at some point we're gonna have that fucking conflict again. So yeah, I need to do a little bit more research, but turns out wasn't 100% wrong. They are imperial. There is imperialism going on in those Nordic countries. Which sucks to say the least. Which sucks to say the fucking least.
Yeah,
it's like, man, Norway's got it fucking figured out, and they're so cool. And no, they're fucking people over in poorer countries, but because they can extract their fucking resources, and that's how they can help their people in their country. I said, get the oil, take the oil. So that's it. That's all I got. Hopefully next week we will have a scripted episode. As much fun as this was, we'll have a scripted episode. We will do damn it. We will do part 3 of the Intimately Oppressed. Any last words?
The women's is.
The women's is. So with that, at the risk of sounding eloquent, let's have a fucking revolution at this point because we have nothing to fucking lose.
Ladies and gentlemen,
General strike.
Good night.